Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. It's going to be Megan Brantley, VP of Research at LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Megan.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, so we're talking Lululemon. Now, after earnings in December, it was okay earnings, but then they gave an update in early January. They actually raised their guidance moving forward because of the good holiday shopping season. What kind of data are you guys seeing out of this name going into earnings?
Yeah, so they did upgrade their guidance. They said that the products were really resonating. And, we did see a nice holiday season when it comes to Lulu. I will say that if you look at if you look at February data, that looks a bit more rough. But nice holiday season, and we're starting to see things pick back up into spring, which I think is going to be really critical whenever you think of a guidance perspective. But one thing to keep in mind whenever we're looking at our data is, especially when we look at this e-commerce data, is that we're looking at U.S. web visits. And this is an area, at least in terms of growth, where Lululemon has really struggled. Whenever you look at what's really driving this growth, we saw last quarter, I think growth in China was up 39%, growth in the rest of the world was up 27%. Growth in Canada up 9%, US was flat. And so I think that this, you can see on this chart, Lululemon's at the bottom. And so this is a brand that at least is losing some momentum among the US consumer. You see at the top part of that chart some up and coming very high end names like a Vuori, like a Rhone. And so when you look at the overall mind share, just to kind of temper what this chart is looking at, we still have Lululemon versus a Vuori and a Rhone with 80% of the web traffic here. So still massive consumer mind share, but Vuori has managed to rack up about 17% of that mind share. And it used to be closer to 1% when we broke this down. So we're starting to see signs that these up and coming brands that are a little more high end than Lulu, or a little more, I would say, exclusive than Lulu, are starting to take some of that market share, at least among the US consumers. So I think heading into this report, we'd really like to see some traction among US consumers for Lululemon. We'd like to see some optimism surrounding new spring offerings and the new product lineup that Lulu is rolling out. And obviously, we'd like to see continued traction internationally, because that's what we've seen drive growth in the past.
Megan, what do you think is the reason for this shift? Is it the lack of new fashion trends that they're kind of bringing to market, or is there a branding issue? Is it a trading down? Because you're kind of highlighting two names. It seems like it's more of a premium brand. Why is Lulu kind of losing this market share over the last couple of quarters and let's say a year and a half?
Yeah. Whenever we look at our mentions, we saw a pretty steep sentiment drop. I don't know if you guys remember this. I believe it was last summer. Lulu released a brand, and consumers were talking about how, the pants made their butt look horrible. And that sounds silly, but whenever you're talking about a consumer, you want them to associate Lulu with very high quality, because this is a brand that comes with a premium price. And I think that they rushed a couple of product drops to market. They pulled these products off of the shelves, but they lost a bit of the consumer trust, and consumers were willing to look elsewhere to find other brands that maybe fit a little bit better. And so I think Lulu has been working to resolve this, and the company, made the right choice in pulling things off the shelves and improving that product. But that was just one example of a loss in the consumer psyche whenever you talk about the brand value that Lulu held. But I still think that this is a name, that holds tremendous brand value. It's still able to command a premium price for its items, and we're starting to see some traction, especially among its tennis offerings. It's really leaning into some of these other activities that it hadn't really chased or embraced before. We're also starting to see Lulu bring out more items that look less like athleisure and look more like items that you may be able to wear out on the town. And I think that that's a big high-level trend shift that we're seeing among consumers, is they're tired of just the black athleisure leggings that Lulu really thrived in over pandemic days, and now transitioning into a more dressed up yet comfortable look.
I'm gonna equate that those top two, Rhone and Vuori, to my purchases, because I don't even look at Lululemon anymore. I only purchase those. So I'm going to give you that take, Megan, even though it's probably not true. But I've been hearing rumors. Truist came out with a note and said that TikTok, that they're starting to advertise, and there's some engagement on TikTok that's really helped support the brand over the last several weeks here. Do you guys cover that kind of data? And finally, what kind of earnings score do you have on this one?
Yeah, think that one thing that we can say whenever you look at our web data, when you looked at that chart that was looking at a 30-day moving average, when you zoom that into about a 7-day moving average, so just in the last week, it's an improvement of about 10 points. And so I think that that's going to be really critical heading into earnings, because that's going to be the best view that we have of guidance. And while that is still negative among U.S. consumers, that's an improvement from before. And so it's nice to start to see a bit of an uptick and a bit of an improvement when it comes to year-over-year comps among the U.S. consumer. And it's also nice to see whenever we look at what consumers are talking about, they're talking about their new product lines, which is really important because these are also going to be the ones that come at a bit of a heftier price tag.
All right, great stuff, great data as always, Megan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Megan Brantley, VP of Research at LikeFolio, breaking down Lululemon. KG,